Today I'm going to talk about the Book of Ruth. It's one of the books from the Old Testament. It's one of the shortest books in the Bible, but it has so much meaning. It has so much understanding of love from God, and it can show us really how to love in real life. It can show us how to love on earth and how we should be loving those we're in relationships with, our neighbors, our family members, etc. I encourage everybody to read this book. It's a very short read. You may have to do some research, some looking up to understand what's truly being portrayed, what's truly being said of these verses. But that's what I'm here to do, is help people understand this book, help people understand love as God intended it, and to just show that love is God. God is love. You can't have true love without God in your life. You can't understand it without understanding His Word. So I'm going to go through this whole book from start to finish. It's only 4 chapters, and hopefully I can make it easy to understand. So the book starts with Naomi being widowed. Naomi is Ruth's mother-in-law. So Naomi and her husband Elimelech lived in Bethlehem, where there was a famine. They moved to Moab to escape the famine. Elimelech eventually passed away, where Naomi became a widow. Naomi and Elimelech had 2 sons, Mahlon and Chilion. Mahlon was married to Ruth. Both of the sons passed away also. So then Ruth became widowed. So Naomi, her mother-in-law, as well as Ruth, are now both widows, living in Moab. So because they're poor, because they don't have many options, they heard that in Bethlehem, the Lord has visited His people and given them food in the fields. That's verse 6. So she set out from the place where she was with her 2 daughters-in-law, and they went on the way to return to the land of Judah, which is Bethlehem. But Naomi said to her 2 daughter-in-laws, "Go, return each of you to her mother's house. May the Lord deal kindly with you, as you have dealt with the dead and with me. The Lord grant that you may find rest, each of you, in the house of her husband." And she kissed them and lifted up their voices and wept. So Naomi was telling her 2 daughter-in-laws, which only Ruth is the one that's mentioned by name in this book, as it's about her. But Ruth didn't accept that. Ruth wanted to go with Naomi. She wanted to stay by her side because she loved her, because she was close to her, and because that was her choice. She made the choice to go with Naomi. She made the choice to stick by her side in the time of grief, because they're both widowed. They have something in common. So Ruth made the decision to stay with her. So we're going to go down to verse 15. And she said, "See, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her gods. Return after your sister-in-law." So Ruth's sister-in-law returned back to her mother, just as Naomi told her to. But Ruth said, "Do not urge me to leave you or to return from following you, for where you go I will go, and where you lodge I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God my God. Where you die I will die, and there will I be buried. May the Lord do so to me, and more also, if anything but death parts me from you." And when Naomi saw that she was determined to go with her, she said no more. So Ruth gave up possibly finding a husband in her hometown, which is Moab, to go back to Bethlehem, where Naomi is from, to follow her because she loves her, because she trusts in the Lord. Where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people, my people. Your God, my God. Where you die, I die. So she's giving up herself for Naomi. She's following her. She's trusting in her plan. She's trusting that God will guide her, keep her safe, and give her the life that God wants her to have. So the next couple verses is about Naomi talking about how God has been bitter with her. Obviously, her husband died. "I went away full, and the Lord has brought me back empty. Why call me Naomi when the Lord has testified against me and the Almighty has brought calamity upon me? So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabite, her daughter-in-law, with her, who returned from the country of Moab, and they came to Bethlehem at the beginning of barley harvest. So Naomi's broken, Naomi's bitter, Naomi is essentially mad at God, saying, why me? Why is this happening to me? Why are you being bitter towards me? But we'll see later what happens with that, and understand that she still had faith in God. She still knew she had to do something. She had to go to Bethlehem for herself, for Ruth, to go to the harvest because of the famine. So she needed to just continue to keep pushing, continue trusting in him, even though she felt that she was being acted, that she had bitterness from God. So chapter 2. Now Naomi had a relative of her husband's, a worthy man of the clan of Elimelech, whose name was Boaz. Ruth said to Naomi, let me go to the field and glean among the ears of grain after him, in whose sight I shall find favor. She said, go, my daughter. She set out and went and gleaned in the field after the reapers, and she happened to come to the part of the field belonging to Boaz. So gleaning the field in the Bible is picking like the edges of a field of a harvest, because whoever owned the field would leave the edges unpicked, unharvested for the poor, for people like Ruth who may need it, as God would instruct them to. So Boaz came from Bethlehem, and he said to the reapers, the Lord be with you. And they answered, the Lord bless you. So Boaz is a man of God. Boaz loves all. He loves God. He blesses everybody. He blesses those who need it especially. Boaz said to his young man who was in charge of the reapers, whose young woman is this? And the servant who was in charge said, she is the young Moabite woman who came back with Naomi from the country of Moab. She said, please let me glean and gather among the sheaves after the reapers. So she came, and she has continued from early morning until now, except for a short rest. Boaz said to Ruth, now listen, my daughter, do not glean in another field or leave this one, but keep close to my young women. Let your eyes be on the field that they are reaping, and go after them. Have I not charged the young men not to touch you? And when you are thirsty, go to the vessels and drink what the young men have drawn. She fell on her face, bowing to the ground, and said to him, why have I found favor in your eyes, that you should take notice of me, since I am a foreigner? But Boaz answered her, all that you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband has been fully told to me, and how you left your father and mother and your native land, and came to a people that you did not know before. The Lord repay you for what you have done, and a full reward be given you by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge. Let me just finish this. Then she said, I have found favor in your eyes, my Lord, for you have comforted me and spoken kindly to your servant, though I am not one of your servants. So Boaz is essentially letting her have the fruits of his labor, the gifts that he has to provide. He's giving to her with no intent of receiving anything back from Ruth, which is love. That's love. Giving to her, helping her live, helping her eat, helping her just be fruitful with nothing expected in return, just out of the love of his heart, the love for Jesus that he has. At mealtime, Boaz said to her, come here and eat some bread and dip your morsel in the wine. So she sat beside the reapers, and he passed to her roasted grain. She ate until she was satisfied. She still had some left over. When she rose to glean, Boaz told his young men, let her glean even among the sheaves, and do not reproach her. And also pull out some from the bundles for her, and leave it for her to glean, and do not rebuke her. So he's giving all of this to Ruth for no reason, no reason for him, like anything in return. He's just giving it to her because of love, because he sees that she's a strong woman. He sees her character. He understands that she has essentially earned what he is giving to her because of the person that she is, not because what she looks like, not because any of that. He sees her character. He sees that she's there for her mother-in-law and that she chose a path that she was unsure about. So she gleaned, she got barley, she took it up, went to the city. Her mother-in-law saw she had gleaned. She said, "Where did you glean today? And where have you worked? Blessed be the man who took notice of you." So she told her mother-in-law with whom she worked, said, "The man's name with whom I worked today is Boaz." And Naomi said to her daughter-in-law, "May he be blessed by the Lord, whose kindness has not forsaken the living or the dead." So Naomi's still trusting in Jesus. She's seen Jesus' gifts already, that they have been brought to Boaz to glean, to get harvest, to eat, to continue living. She's seen the blessing that the Lord has brought them. Naomi also said to her, "This man is a close relative of ours, one of our redeemers," which in the Bible, you marry they're not blood relatives, they're like relatives through marriage, and they would marry those people to keep the family name, to keep the harvest, to keep the fields, because you want to keep the fields in the family as well as just keep the family name going. So we're going to move to chapter 3. They continued living in Bethlehem and continued gleaning in Boaz's fields. So Naomi told Ruth, "Wash, therefore, and anoint yourself, and put on your cloak and go down to see the threshing floor, but do not make yourself known to the man until he has finished eating and drinking." So this is probably the next night, or maybe that night. Boaz had dinner, drank, he went to sleep, and Ruth's mother-in-law Naomi told her, "Go to him, lay at his feet, and show that you are submitting to him. You are humble before him, and show that he is your redeemer." Essentially saying, "Will you marry me? Will you be my husband? Will you take care of me? Will you redeem me?" So she lies down at her feet, at Boaz's feet. At midnight the man was startled, turned over, and behold her laying at his feet. She said, "Who are you?" And he said, "Who are you?" She said, "I am Ruth your servant. Spread your wings over your servant, for you are a redeemer." That essentially means marriage. Spreading your wings over someone is marriage. He said, "May you be blessed by the Lord, my daughter. You have made this last kindness greater than the first, in that you have not gone after young men, whether poor or rich." So he's saying to her, "You're choosing me out of loyalty. You're choosing me out of what I have given to you and the love I've shown you. You're not choosing me because I'm rich. You're not choosing me because I'm good looking. You're not choosing me because of any other reason but that I've done right by you. I've shown you love in Jesus' name." It has nothing to do with romance. It has nothing to do with sex. It's all about trust, honesty, loyalty. And she had the free will to choose. She wanted to do this. It wasn't God telling her to do this. It wasn't anybody forcing her. She had the choice to do this, and she did it. Now, obviously, God has guided them to Bethlehem to find Boaz, but they don't necessarily know that that's how or why that this happened. It just happened because of God's miracles, because of God's glory. So he says, "I'll do for you all that you ask, and it is true that I am a redeemer. As the Lord lives, I will redeem you. Lie down until morning." So she lay at his feet until the morning, but arose before one could recognize another. And he said, "Bring the garment you are wearing, hold it out." She held it out, and he measured out 6 measures of barley and put it on her. So once again, he knows that she doesn't have a ton. He gives her more barley and more harvest to sustain her and her mother-in-law out of love, not out of not out of pride, not because he needs to, it's because he has love for her. Jesus is telling him to bless this woman and give this to her. And then we continue. She said as she got back to Naomi, "These 6 measures of barley he gave to me, for he said to me, you must not go back empty-handed to your mother-in-law." So it's just that. He said, you won't be empty-handed. You won't be struggling to find something else, because I will give it to you out of my love for you and for Christ. And then there was actually another relative closer to Ruth that would have a first choice to be with her rather than Boaz, and Boaz respected that. So my phone just went on low battery. So they were going to give that man the choice first, because he earned the choice first. He didn't earn it, but that's just what it is. Like, the closer relative gets first choice back in this time, and that's how God meant it to be. So we will settle the matter today. So went up to the gate. This is the next day. Brought the relative in that had the choice. Said to the Redeemer, Naomi, who has come back from the country of Moab, is selling the parcel of land that belonged to our relative Elimelech. So he essentially offered the land up and said, this is your land to be had. Would you like the land? Obviously, he would say yes. And then after he says, I will redeem it, Boaz said, the day you buy the field from the hand of Naomi, you also acquire Ruth, the Moabite, the widow of the dead, in order to perpetuate the name of the dead in his inheritance. So in order to keep Elimelech's family name continued, it's not just the land. You also need to marry Ruth and take her as your wife and have children with her. So then the other Redeemer said that he would not be able to do that. I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I impair my own inheritance. Take my redemption of yourself, for I cannot redeem it. So he was married, likely. He had children, likely. So he didn't want to obviously mess that up. He didn't want to change his inheritance. And so it was now Boaz's. Ruth was now Boaz's to marry. They were going to get married. She seemingly gave up her whole life in Moab to come to Bethlehem with her mother-in-law out of love for her, and it ended up finding her love through Jesus's power, through his will, just because she was loyal, she was loving, and she had trust. So, Ruth the Moabite, the widow of Mahlon, I have bought to be my wife, to perpetuate the name of the dead and his inheritance, that the name of the dead may not be cut off from among his brothers and from the gate of his native place. You are witnesses this day. So this is essentially them getting married. They have witnesses. The people watching said, we are witnesses. This is literally a marriage ceremony. And you need witnesses because you're not embarrassed of the marriage. They chose each other with free will. They didn't just choose each other because of the family name. They chose each other because they saw the loyalty in each other, the honesty, and they both had things to give to each other. Boaz showed leadership, he showed care, he showed protection, he showed concern for Ruth, and he was not embarrassed to let it be known to others. He glorified her, and he saw her character, like I said earlier. Ruth showed her love, her respect, her humility, and her submission to Boaz to help, or to show that she would stay by his side, she would remain loyal to him, and that he will be the one to help carry on Elimelech's name, and she would be right by his side as they do it. There's no selfishness, there's no pleasure, there's no self-pleasure, there's no, like, it's just every wife and husband imagines this relationship, a relationship like this, where there's no self-pleasure involved. It's all just doing things for each other, for the love of each other. And that's what love is. That's what this book is about. So we're almost done. There's a few more verses here. This is where it gets good, actually. Boaz took Ruth, and she became his wife, and he went into her, and the Lord gave her conception, and she bore a son. So they had sex after they were married, obviously, and they bore a son. The woman said to Naomi, "Blessed be the Lord, who has not left you this day without a redeemer, and may his name be renowned in Israel. He shall be to you a restorer of life and a nourisher of your old age, for your daughter-in-law who loves you, who is more to you than 7 sons, has given birth to him." So Ruth gave Naomi a grandson now, restoring Naomi's love, restoring Naomi's trust in Jesus, showing that there is more and there's no bitterness. All they had to do was trust and just keep following him. Naomi took the child, laid him on her lap, and became his nurse. And the women of the neighborhood gave him a name, saying, "A son has been born to Naomi." They name him Obed. He was the father of Jesse, who was the father of David. So Obed had a child, Jesse. Jesse had a child, David. David is the one who fought Goliath, which is what most people know him as. But David is a direct descendant from Jesus. A lot of people in between. But without this story, without Ruth trusting in Naomi, without Naomi trusting in God, and Ruth trusting in God, and without Boaz being so much of a leader, so loving to Ruth, without them finding each other, Jesus would not have been born. So God brought Ruth and Naomi to Boaz through free will, never controlled them, never came down from the sky and said, "You will go here, you will do this." This is all them just using their free will and using their lives and using their trust in God to show that his miracles are amazing. Like, this poor and they were poor, they were widowed, and they chose to have change in their lives. Ruth chose to go with Naomi. Boaz chose to stick with Ruth, to understand her character, to find love in her. Ruth chose to ask Boaz for marriage. Naomi chose to love, chose to be released from her bitterness and her emptiness out of love. And all of that happened. All of that led to a son being born, another son being born, another son in David, and then eventually, through generations, Jesus being born. So without the story of Ruth and Boaz, there wouldn't have been Jesus. So God sent them there without them knowing that this would be such a big story of our faith and of Jesus. And then another thing, Naomi, like we talked about in the beginning, and where she just was with Ruth, is from Bethlehem. Naomi's from Bethlehem. Ruth was from Moab because they moved there during the famine. But Naomi's from Bethlehem. That's where she was married. So Joseph and Mary, before Jesus was born, had to register in the census of Augustus in Bethlehem. So, and then that's where Jesus was born, because they were in Bethlehem when he was born. So because of Ruth, or because of Naomi really being from Bethlehem and having Ruth, obviously, because they were from Bethlehem, Joseph and Mary had to be married and conceive in Bethlehem. So Naomi is the reason that Jesus was born in Bethlehem, essentially. It's just crazy to think about, like, the connections that can be made through the whole Bible, through the past, through thousands of years. And it's just, it's amazing what God can do and what he has done. So God shows us through this book what love is. Love is loyalty. Love is trust. It's honesty. It's the free will of choice. It's choosing each other when it's hard, even when there may be an easier option. Ruth could have just went to her mother. She didn't have to go with Naomi. She could have just went to her mother and continued living her life in Moab. But she chose to go with Naomi out of love and out of hope for the future, and out of just out of love, really. All we need is love in life. So out of that love for her, for Christ, she went with Naomi to be with her, be by her side, and it led to this. It led to Jesus, literally, in the end. And notice nothing in this book talks about romance, talks about sex, talks about anything like that, because that's not what love is. Love is not romance. Love is not sex. It could be a way to portray it after you're married, but love is not sex. Love is sacrificing things that you may think could be better for you for that other person. Love is knowing that God is with you, having faith in Him. And even if it may cost you, if you show love the right way, you sacrifice that and give it to God, He will return back to you true love. He will give you what you are yearning for. And He will show you that this honesty, this loyalty, and truly choosing people freely, because you know that they will be loyal, they will be honest, they will be loving to you, not because they'll have sex with you, not because they'll pleasure you, make you feel good. It's not about feelings. It's about what is truly portrayed in action, and who these people truly are. They're loving, they're respectful, they're honest to each other, and they give themselves up for the other person. That's what love is, and that's what God is showing us that love is through this book. So, I don't know, this maybe was hard to understand just listening to me. I probably didn't do a great job of explaining it, but read this book for yourself. Take some notes on it. Look up what verses mean if you're confused. Look up what is trying to be portrayed by these verses, and just understand this book, because this truly shows what love is and what love needs to be on earth, because love is God, love is honesty, love is trust, love is loyalty. Love is not sex. So learn what love is. Learn what God is. Learn what God wants us to be, how He wants us to love, and you will be able to do it on earth. You will be able to love your neighbors, love your family, love your enemy, and have great relationships on earth if you understand this. You're not here for self-pleasure. You're not here to do anything but glorify Jesus. And if you glorify Jesus, you trust in Him, you go by His word, you will love others the right way. And then you will find fulfillment in loving others and treating them good and giving them the gifts that they were meant to get. So that's about it. Just learn how to love. Go read Ruth. Go look up more verses about love, about lust. I'm going to make a video on Saturday, on Valentine's Day, just to tell some people what love really is throughout other books of the Bible, throughout other verses. So, yeah, just go read and understand Ruth, and it'll help you understand love a little bit better, as now it's made me understand and see. I'll just do a quick prayer, and then I'll be done, as I'm at a half hour now. Dear Jesus, thank you for the opportunity to read your word, to understand your word, and thank you for giving me the strength to share it with others. Though I may not have done it perfect, though it may be confusing, I hope it can push some people to read the Bible, to understand what you have planned for us, how you want us to live, how you want us to love. Help people to understand that love is the main thing. If we do not have love, we have nothing. If we do not have strength in you, Jesus, we have nothing. So Lord, just help anyone who may not understand to see, to open their Bible and to just trust in you, continue to follow in your name, because it's so beautiful just when you understand how these stories have came together, how they've brought together our faith, and how they show us how to truly live. The Bible shows us how to live. It shows us how to love. We just need to seek it out. We need to sacrifice ourselves, our selfishness, and our pleasure to understand you and to live fruitful lives in you, Jesus. So Lord, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for showing me how to love, and thank you for allowing me the choice to share this and to build my faith within you, Lord. Thank you. Amen. God bless you, and I'll make a video Saturday.